We have generation gap in the Indian American community.
It's a roller coaster ride with President Trump. Uh, the thing is, so long as it has an upward trend in that roller coaster, everything will be fine.
Does he lie sometime? Yes. And
Many times.
What do you think is the present perception of the Indian American community? और कल के जो डिबेट हुई थी, कल जो क्लोजिंग डिबेट थी, उसके बाद में क्या कुछ इंडियन अमेरिकन कम्युनिटी का पर्सपेक्टिव चेंज हुआ होगा? क्योंकि ऑलरेडी मेरे ख्याल से तो जिनको वोट जिसको करना है वो तो माइंड मेड अप है, बट क्या उस डिबेट से कुछ डिफरेंस आया होगा अभी सबके दिमाग में?
You see, yesterday's debate was significantly tilted in favor of President Trump, except, in my opinion, his answer to the very last question. In the very last question, he did not answer how he would address the inaugural gathering if he's to be elected as the next president. Instead, he commented why he should be elected as the next president and how dangerous it would be to get Mr. Biden elected as the next president.
I felt that President Trump was good on style, but in substance and in content. Unfortunately, the things that he said were not true. It started with coronavirus and what he had done and what he had from the very beginning said about it. And I think the same thing happened about these children who were separated from their parents. And he said that they are being treated well. I have my colleagues who have gone to those places, brought back pictures, and I have seen those children crying and not in very good shape at all. And they have been separated by their parents. Both of them stuck to their guns. And I don't think that any minds were changed after that debate.
we have generation gap in the Indian American community. People who are of my generation think a lot about India and also Indian American community. The next generation, my children, they think mostly about themselves, local Indian Americans, little about India. Trump did better than the first debate. It was not chaotic, it was more civilized. I don't think that will change much. As you know, in any election, people vote for different reasons. There are Bible Belt people who are evangelicals. They are going to vote for Trump no matter what his performance. Most of the African Americans are going to vote for Biden no matter what his performance. In the Indian American, people are very upset about what was written in the Muslim page of Biden's plank, though we have successfully conveyed that through the senators that we know, as well as directly to Vice President Biden, our concern. And on 22nd September, it was conveyed to him on one-to-one basis about Kashmir and CAA. And they have backed off it.
How do you think the coronavirus crisis, which is there in USA, which is pretty prevalent right now in USA, how do you think that is going to impact this election? Is there going to be any impact at all? And if yes, what is the impact going to be like?
It's going to hurt President Trump. And he does deserve some of the blame, but the blame goes around at multiple levels. Starting January, people knew that coronavirus thing was coming, but people thought that this will be another SARS virus type of thing. So everybody thought, wo 4 flu aur hua hai, ek aur ho jayega. So nobody took it seriously. Now, I also have to bring out that in month of January and February, all the US politicians, they were talking about impeachment. Everything was going on about impeachment. So really this matter, which should have received serious attention, did not get it.
Okay,
and
sir.
Trump tried to politicize also by appointing people who will give opinion favorable to what he wanted to hear.
Do you think that President Trump ever lies?
Well, he does lie, yeah.
And do you think that may have damaging consequences?
Yeah, everybody talks about it. I mean, at least it is being advertised. I don't know that he lies all the time, but does he lie sometime? Yes. And
Many times. The fact is that from the very beginning, the administration did not do what the president and the federal government ought to have been doing. And so I think I do say that they were responsible. Now, coming to the next part, how does it affect Indians and Indian Americans? Many of them who are on H-1B, many of the students who were around, they had been hurt badly. You can put the blame on all sides, everywhere, but I think the administration did not do what any federal government ought to have been doing.
Because I 100% agree with my fellow panelists. But at the same time, you have to take into consideration how much media has contributed to this. अपना जो इंडियन साइकी है, वो भारतीय संस्कृति क्या है? हम विषाद नहीं बांटते, हम प्रसाद बांटते हैं. समझ रही हैं आप? सो अमेरिका की मीडिया अब क्या कर रही है? वो ज्यादा विषाद बांट रही है, वो प्रसाद नहीं बांट रही.
मैं मिस्टर रवि से समझना चाहती हूँ, मिस्टर रवि और डॉक्टर बराई दोनों से मैं समझना चाहती हूँ कि ये इंडियन अमेरिकन कम्युनिटी प्रेसिडेंट ट्रम्प के इमिग्रेशन लॉस को कैसे परसीव करती है?
भरत जी आप जाइए.
People do not like his erratic performance and erratic talk. His own mother was an immigrant. His wife is an immigrant. So for him to be against immigrants, I think he can word his message better if he wants to say that we want immigration based on the merits. And number two, he is very erratic in what he does. On one side, he praises the Indian American community. On the other side, he goes on rampage against the immigrant.
What Bharat Bhai said, that the consistency of the messages are not, the consistency is not there. So today you want to be siding with Trump, tomorrow you don't want to be siding with Trump. And that is the roller coaster that the Indian community in US has been suffering as a result of his domestic policies. Internationally, whatever he is doing, I think Indian American community is totally with him. He has progressed his ideas of America first very well, and that has been appreciated quite a lot. He has also done an amazing reversal in taxation. All that sideline money which is sitting in the wings and in the pockets is quickly going to come back and show itself in the stock market. It is, as you know. And therefore, it's a roller coaster ride with President Trump. The thing is, so long as it has an upward trend in that roller coaster, everything will be fine. And we hope that he is able to maintain that trend.
Unfortunately, since I teach international relations, international law, almost all the countries that had been allies of the United States, he has alienated them. Not one country at the present time feels that the United States is the one that they can rely upon. Second, the leadership that the United States had at the present time, it's no longer there around the world. And third, as I said, that no matter who is there in White House, they cannot ignore India. And I think in this country at the present time, Raviji is absolutely right. Stock market is up, rich people are getting richer. But in this country at the present time, the economy is such that people who are downtrodden, they are hurting. People who, Indians are not, Indian Americans are in good shape. But at the same time, the common person in the United States is under a great deal of stress. And they have got to think about it. Should I eat or should I pay my rent? Should I eat or should I go to a hospital and get my health taken care of?
Right.
But my own feeling is that no matter who wins, Indian Americans, they are strong. They love India. They are, Raviji appropriately said, Bharatiya Sanskriti.
I want to understand, since before this, we were on the subject of immigration. How do you think, in case Joe Biden is elected, how do you think the immigration laws are going to change? Kya difference लाएंगे Joe Biden?
I can tell you that because at the present time, the United States is violating the refugee law. It's violating asylum law. It's violating the issue. These are children who are separated from their parents, people who come to seek in this country asylum, and they are sent back to Mexico and say, stay there. So if Biden comes into power, I think at the present time, I can say that immigration policy will be changed. In Biden's policy group is one of my former students, and he is playing a major role on the immigration issues. So the immigration part, I know that. And because of Kamala Harris, and her second name is Devi, Kamala Devi Harris, and she always talks about her mother, Shamla. And when she was young, she used to go to the temples. She used to go to India. And so she hasn't lost her heritage. And that also has got having some bearing upon Indian American.
डॉक्टर भरत, आपको क्या लगता है कमला हैरिस के बारे में? आपको लगता है कि कमला हैरिस की जो मतलब एक इंडियन कनेक्ट है, बिकॉज उनका इंडियन ओरिजिन भी है, उनका जो इंडियन कनेक्ट है वो क्या इंडियन अमेरिकन को अपील करेगा?
If you ask me honestly, to a small degree, yes, not to a large degree. The young generation, like my daughter, they feel about it, but they were going to vote Democrat anyway. So I don't think it's really going to make that much difference. My generation, some of the people who consider themselves strong Hindus, they feel that she better behave because she had tried to make some statement that, oh, Kashmiris, we are with you. And when Parmila Jaipal tried to gate crash into a meeting with Dr. Jaishankar, that time the Indian embassy said that that was not our agreement. These four people were going to meet. Actually, she was never invited. She is not even a member of that committee. And at that point, she was trying to gate crash herself. And Kamala Harris made a statement that, oh, foreign minister of another country cannot choose who should meet. Well, she should have done better homework and find out what was the agreement. She did not have much of an experience as a senator till recently, but we'll have to see. So right now, I will not make a judgment one way or the other, except that I'll be cautious about her. I don't think that she is going to take more than 2 to 5% of the Indian American votes towards her side.
How do you rate Trump's presidency?
I will say, if you put everything together, probably B minus.
I would rate him at A.
That is very generous. You don't think President Trump lies?
It's no, the lies are relative, you see. If you stretch it to the ultimate extent, I will give you example of Bhagwan Buddha. One disciple asked him, does God exist? He looked at the person and he said, no, the God does not exist. Another disciple asked him, does God exist? He looked at the person and he said, yes, God exists. So now, would you say Bhagwan Buddha was a liar? The statements which are made by politicians have to be taken in the right context to which audience they were made, and you can't ask a question like that, you see.
So,
Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, even if President Trump lies, you think it's not very damaging. It is okay for him to lie because you think there are not enough damage.
No, because he's consistent with his intent and with his personality.
Yes.
You're asking grades. Since I'm a professor,
Yes, sir.
I grade them, and my grade would be D.
Okay, that is very far away from what Mr. Ravi said. Could you give a short answer on why you think so?
Because during his term, 4 years, he has not done anything that I would consider to be even coming close to doing some good for humanity and some good for the country. So my grade is not a very good grade. And I do grade very, very carefully.